Time doesn't forget him. Not because he shaped it, but because he broke too many of its reflections. In every echo, he still walks, through timelines shattered by prophecy, through realms abandoned by gods who now war over ash. Eterra weeps, Rahia burns, the void devours, but he follows none of them. He wasn't chosen, not by gods, not by fate, only by the void, and the will to answer it without fear. Where others fall once, he strikes twice. Echoes trail every cut, not to remember who he was, but to end what he's become. They call it death by 1,000 cuts. To him it's just motion, repeated, refined, unstoppable. And when he swings, time remembers. His name is Dalfarion, the Voidcutter, Echo Slayer, Blade of Broken Time. If you wish to witness more videos like this, lend the blade your favor. Remember to like and subscribe. He doesn't swing for damage alone. He swings to sever timelines, to cut through cause and consequence. Rive is the blade, converted to void, wielded in two hands. Sharpened by fires, he kindles and consumes himself. The first strike carves, the second pulls, the third devours, igniting foes only to consume that blaze for void penetration, each ember fueling the hunger of the void. With every motion, scrap metal coils around him, armor and ferocity entwined, until every swing feels like collapse waiting to happen. Each strike leaves not just a wound, but an echo, and Dalfarion never swings once. Healing hands is the reflex, a slash that doubles as salvation. It cleaves in an arc, heals what matters, shields him from harm, and hurls him into the next cut. When triggered through Rive, it becomes instinct, like breath in battle, a rhythm of cut, heal, endure, unbroken, unstoppable. Symbols of hope are his silent omens. No prayers, no light, just remnants of broken faith rewritten into void. They don't pray, they repurpose, turning stolen light into void, into certainty. He does not cast them. They persist, amplifying his crit, his endurance, his devastation without a whisper. Devouring orb follows like a fading star. It casts itself as he moves, orbiting his path, shredding resistance, releasing void essences, and detonating in his wake. He doesn't slow to unleash them. The orbs fall behind him, because he never stops moving. Anomaly is the rupture. It bends time to his momentum, slowing enemies, stripping resistance, and amplifying the moment of impact. Within its bubble, his strikes echo louder, his crits cut deeper. Against bosses, it doesn't interrupt. It marks them for deletion. And with Time Lord's brand, the time bubble doesn't wait. It moves with him, clinging to his steps like a curse. Because to Dalfarion, death by 1,000 cuts isn't cruelty. It's precision. It's certainty. It's the echo of every strike, repeating until there's nothing left to repeat. He wasn't born for war. He was layered into it. One node, one scar, one denial of peace at a time. From Sentinel, he forged the body, a shell that doesn't just endure, but returns the favor. Juggernaut carves armor from strength. Fearless and armor-clad, soak the nearness of enemies in cold resolve, and time and faith ensures that every strike with Rive becomes a tithe, paid back in blood and breath. But his identity was never just armor. It was the echo beneath it. From Void Knight, Dalfarion pulls essence, abyssal endurance, grants resistances and raw life. Sorrow and steel and void corruption turn his swings into critical fractures, void wounds that don't close. Echoing strikes and Time Legion let those wounds repeat, delayed not in sound, but in judgment. And when Avatar of Regret awakens, his strikes become recursive. He doesn't lash out. He echoes inward, folding violence on top of itself. His recovery is offensive. Devouring blade and world eater siphon death into life, while woe and singular purpose debilitate what stands, shredding resistance and punishing the slowed and the rotting. And beyond shadow or flame, he reaches once into light, not for faith, but for refusal. The paladin tree grants him defiance and valor, endurance stacked atop healing, layered like a pact with consequence. He's not here to defend the world. He's here to remind it what it failed to kill. He doesn't chase names. He doesn't chase power. He chases design. Everything he equips, every node, every role. It isn't a prize. It's a cog in the machine. A loop that scales, that sustains, that refuses to break. Void melee damage gives him weight. Attack speed stacks that weight into pressure. And with every echo, that pressure fractures into crit, penetration, and shred. The more he swings, the more he multiplies. Clotho's needle is his exemplar, a weaver's will sword that swings fast, crits harder, and bleeds strength from motion. But any two-hander stacked with void melee damage, void damage, or ignite chance unleashes full potential, because Foe Cleaver doubles every stat that matters. He doesn't serve meta, he serves momentum. Siphon of anguish and shattered chains fuel his doom, a stacking ailment that amplifies melee damage by up to 36%. They bring leech, void penetration, and strength in the same breath. He doesn't just scale damage, he weaponizes thresholds. For defense, he doesn't block. He bends the timeline. Titanheart cuts off regeneration, but trades it for brutal damage reduction while wielding two hands. Immortal Vice delays boss damage across time, just long enough for his leech to erase it. Seed of Echidrosil shifts incoming hits into mana first, letting his health wait in silence. He builds endurance, not just to survive, but to stall, outlast, and retaliate before the final tick. Nihilus is the trigger. Evading grants frenzy, an instant burst of speed, a window where every swing hits before it's seen. Shattered Worlds amplifies it. Frenzy's effect doubles. Haste, attributes, crit, layered into motion, a flash of control in the chaos. Sularon's step sharpens the impact. Brutal crit power, pure movement. He trades resistance for acceleration and never looks back. Atlaria anchors him. Strength, resilience, and a hidden safeguard. A passive edge when his stats align. He doesn't stack numbers. He stacks responses, gear that reacts, scales, and fuels recursion. The final touches are etched, not dropped. Idols that echo into ignite or frenzy. Blessings that stretch crit, armor, and survival when it matters most. He's not armored. He's structured, not dressed for battle, dressed for recursion. He is Dalfarion, the Voidcutter, and every piece he wears doesn't defend the timeline. It unravels it. This build doesn't pause. It surges, layer by layer, echo by echo. Every strike is part of a system. Skills that trigger, passives that echo, gear that accelerates. Speed feeds sustain. Sustain fuels pressure. And pressure breaks everything before it can strike back. Your passives loop your damage. Your gear rewards momentum. You move, you strike. Everything follows. And the truth is, it doesn't begin with perfection. It begins with rhythm. With each upgrade, the recursion deepens until every strike becomes inevitability. This is Dalfarion, the Voidcutter. And when he begins, the timeline doesn't recover.